What meaning do you attach to the image of the burning Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris? Does it make you feel like it's a sign of Armageddon? I suppose architectural achievements are mankind's finest, easily identifiable symbolic achievements. You could argue there are great achievements in the world of science, couldn't you, or in the world of philosophy, theology, literature. But as a visible emblem, the city and great architectural feats, such as Notre Dame, it's like the best thing mankind can do. Think of 3 recent buildings that have iconically burned down or exploded or been knocked down, like Notre Dame, Grenfell, and the Twin Towers. Those 3 images suggest a decline in civilization, or suggest, perhaps more dramatically, an apocalypse. It's almost as if those images exist in our mind already. Adam Curtis did this brilliant thing once where he showed all of these images of skyscrapers being destroyed that were in circulation prior to 9/11, as if the event itself somehow existed already in our imagination. When I saw that Notre Dame, I like burning. I've got no, I've like been there as a tourist, like seen it. I don't think I've even been in it, but it made me feel a sense of great discomfort and dissatisfaction because it's highly resonant. And isn't it? These are the things that I think are interesting. One, we know everything is impermanent. We know that at some point, all cities, everything is going to fall apart. As Osho said, what is civilization? What is society? Society is just the clearing in the forest. We clear back the nature. We create these wonderful cities and systems, knowing that at some point it will all fold in because, of course, the sun and the earth, you know that thing, the sun's going to implode and all of that sort of stuff. So even if we're talking an incomprehensible time in the future, it's inevitable. It also makes me think, what does Notre Dame represent? It's a symbol of France, it's a symbol of religion, it's a symbol of civilization. So when those things burn, you can see from like Macron's reaction that it's like an affront to France. Things have symbolic meaning. When Grenfell burned down, I remember feeling, oh, this is probably a terrorist attack. And then it wasn't a terrorist attack. And I thought, I bet people don't care as much because it's just going to be negligence. But actually, people did care. People thought, oh no, this tells us something. This tells us something about the story of our nation, the story of class, the story of poverty. When the Twin Towers came down, you think about it, that was a seismic shift in global politics. From that moment on, everything was different. It was used to license wars that we now know were dubiously underwritten. It's created cultural tensions that go on to this day. What will Notre Dame mean ultimately? Did you see the story where someone said, like, look at these churches in Louisiana that have burned down, no one cares about that. You know, of course, people do care about it, but it doesn't have the same narrative weight because Notre Dame is a symbol of many things. It exists in literature, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It exists in our imagination. It collectively exists in all of us, primarily, I think, as an emblem of certainty. You know, like cathedrals may no longer be these places of worship, aspiration for mankind to reach out into the divine because they've been reappropriated by the state. So what they represent now is the state's ability to reach out into the future, to be permanent. And what I think happens when Notre Dame burns down is we are forced to confront the idea that France itself may not be permanent. While France is a country that's experienced revolution and radical change, the Republic itself continues, and under the banner of France. What does that guy say? Jean-Francois Colosimo said, described the scene as images of the end of the world. It seemed to communicate the extreme fragility of our situation. This is what I believe is true. Have you ever heard that philosophical idea of, you know, if you had to rescue either a baby from a burning building or the last remaining copy of the complete works of Shakespeare, what would you save? And you're meant to say the baby because otherwise, once you start valuing ideology, cultural artifacts above human life, then that's the route to Nazism. And if you ever heard Ricky Gervais and Carl Pilkington talking about that, it's a very, very funny thing. You should check that out. But when a cultural artifact itself is lost in conflagration, we are forced to confront the fact that one day we will not only lose the baby, but we will lose the complete works of Shakespeare. We are forced to confront the fragility of our situation. And I suppose because it's coming at a time where we're all questioning the identity of nation, the value of democracy, the nature of politics, who is in charge and to what ends, how do we deal with globalization, how do we deal with dying narratives and new emergent narratives. For a moment, just a moment, because perhaps in a week or 2 weeks we won't care and the story will have moved on to restoration and how the money's going to be raised and how it's going to be funded and it'll be better than ever. But it's a curious symbol when something like that happens. We are ultimately forced to confront that nothing is permanent, not just Notre Dame, but us, ourselves, everyone we love, the great globe itself, all things ultimately ashes on some astro wind. And for some reason, even though we all know it, we don't know it in our bellies because we are surprised when the cathedral burns down. Hello, I'm doing these new videos more frequently now. Please hit the notification button at the end of this video because then you'll get a little bell when I post a new video, and I'd like you to get a little bell when I post a video. Then I can, I don't know, be buzzing away in your pocket. Sounds like I'd be like a little pocket mosquito. Anyway, subscribe, click the bell because I want more people to watch the YouTube videos. You specifically.